I can't take this any longer, I repeated endlessly. Every time I felt the last straw being yanked, my mother begged me to turn the other cheek. I promised my mother's sealed lips that I would remain silent. Still to this day, my heart aches as I remember my mother crying to me after every abusive episode by my father. Her bruised arms and legs cradled my helpless 15-year-old self. Her lips to my ears whispered, "Things will get better, I promise." Depression struck me bad in high school. Sitting alone during lunch, tears rolled down my red cheeks as I overheard some girls complaining that their parents always wanted to go out as a family. I wept in silence, wishing their parents were mine, wishing a different life. I remember dreaming of inclusion, wanting to be a part of a happy family who enjoyed spreading love and laughter amongst each other. Sadly, my family only ever exposed doubts and dysfunctional affairs. I believe you cannot change people. Fast forward a couple of years, I realized nothing went as planned. The promises made by my mother that things would get better never happened. I learned to accept some people are incapable of changing. My mother feared changing. She feared becoming an outcast in the Croatian community if she sought help for domestic abuse. My mother often blamed my father's abusive personality on his post-traumatic stress disorder diagnosis. His PTSD trauma traces back to the time he served in the Bosnian Serbian genocide. His PTSD is linked to the depression he possesses as well. Despite the severity of his diagnosis, that is no excuse for him to abuse his family or anyone for that matter. I believe in fear. I sincerely wanted to help my mother, but I feared many things like my father's next episode, telling the authorities of the abuse that occurred, my mother not forgiving me had I called the police on her husband. I feared social strain being placed on the family. In my Eastern European culture, calling the police on family is considered shameful. Deep mental scars remain today as I regret giving up the chances to expose my father's abuse, to expose the torment kept for all those years, to expose the dark pigmented bruises that once existed. I believe in forgiveness. Age 20 arrives. I can no longer bear the psychological torture and endless hurt in my household. As I packed my belongings, I asked my mother to come with me. She quickly rejected my offer, saying she must stay. We exchanged our affection, said our goodbyes, and I drove off. I left her my contact info and let her know that she can reach me at any time. Being on my own granted me time to reflect on my family. I believe that I must accept my parents for who they are, ill and unchanging. They are not perfect parents, but they are my parents. They brought me into this world and challenged me to grow from their mistakes. Regardless of such a mad past, I prospered to flourish in my set of beliefs. I believe in my parents, for they are a part of me. They are in my veins.